Very good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. So my name is Ganesh Malpute. I'm representing Sangfor. I'm the Senior Regional Sales Manager. So this webinar has been arranged in collaboration with our partner MTech, and thank you so much for joining. So I know there are a lot of invite comes for the webinars and the meetings, but I'm trying to make it more simple and short webinar for you to take the message which can be useful in your day-to-day operations and the decision making, and you can take it forward. So before I start, I'm sure like many of you perhaps hearing Sangfor name first time, but just to tell you, Sangfor is quite 24 years old company with the businesses in the multiple domains of the IT, infra, cloud, as well as the cybersecurity. So we do have four portfolio. One is a Sangfor security that has 7 to 8 different products, right from the firewall, IG, NDR, XDR, MDR, endpoint secure. And then we have a Sangfor private cloud, whereas the customers can have their own cloud by using Sangfor technology. And then we have a Sangfor IT infrastructure. That is where the data center solution, server, storage, virtualization, backup, all that comes in play. And then we have a Sentry, which is basically switches and the Wi-Fi. So with this large portfolio, I'm going to talk in general what are things Sangfor can offer in this market. So as I said, as a company, more than 24 years old company, with close to 100,000 plus customers globally, and we do have some of the major customers in the UAE. So that includes the ADNOC, the Reda Al Ansari Exchange. Recently, we have signed up with Al Ansari Exchange. We do have a Trojan Construction and many more customers who started using Sangfor products. Uh, you might have not heard about Sangfor. One of the reasons is that all these 24 years, almost 20 years, we were largely operating in the Asia Pacific region. But last 3 years, after the pandemic especially, we started focusing in the region with the office in UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia. And we have done business with close to 1,000 customers in UAE alone. Uh, but as a company, more than 24 years, that is what we say our products have been well tested and used by the global companies. So it is not a new product. Most of the products that we have are more than 10 years or 15 years old. Okay. So, so we are supporting global Fortune 500 customers with 10,000 employees worldwide and offices 60 plus countries. We do close to $1 billion revenue. And this is where Sangfor products are basically. So in the left-hand side, what you can see is basically all the products of Sangfor. And the right-hand side, I have kept the competitors. So for example, you know the likes of VMware, Nutanix, Citrix, Fortinet, and all that. So it is very easy for you as an IT manager to compare where exactly to consider Sangfor. I must say something. In today's date, when I started my career in 90s, there are hardly um, any number of vendors like Oracle, Java, Sun, Microsoft, just handful vendors or the manufacturers in the world, right? In today's date, there are maybe more than 200 or 300 vendors. So when we have so many vendors in the market, so for you as IT manager, it takes a lot of time, it takes difficulty to decide which is the right vendors for you. So in today's date, if you want to choose the firewall, you have a 12 different brands. But how do you ensure that you are making the right decision, which is most cost effective and the appropriate product for your needs? Okay. So it is always challenging. So I also worked as IT manager in Dubai government way back in 2005. So those times we used to use all kind of products like Juniper, Cisco, IBM, and all that. So I know what it takes to make a decision. Any wrong decision can lead to a lot of reputation issues also. At the same time, in today's date, there's so much of cybersecurity challenges are happening. So customers also started thinking just having the firewall and the endpoint secure or antivirus is not enough. Okay, I have seen many cases whereas Fortinet firewall is there, Kaspersky or Sophos antivirus is there, but despite all that, the attacks are happening or ransomware attack is happening. So So in today's discussion, I'm just trying to first introduce what Sangfor is, what all Sangfor products are, and then in any specific product, if you're interested, you can reach out to your account manager in the MTech, and they can set up a proper discussion with you along with Sangfor technical expert. Whereas we can either come or we can have online session for the demonstration, for the POC, and commercials discussion as well. So the first one, the product that we have is basically the hyperconverged infrastructure. So in the hyperconverged infrastructure, most of the people are using the VMware, Microsoft Hyper-V, Nutanix, or Dell VXL. So we do have a complete solution which is hyperconverged, right from the servers, storage, virtualization, and the backup, as well as DR. We can give all solution one from Sangfor. Like unlike VMware, in case of VMware, you still have to use Dell or HP and other servers, right? So in our case, we can give the end-to-end solution. Having said that, if you have preference to use HP or Dell, which is also fine, you can very much use HP and Dell and still run our software on top of it against the VMware. When it comes to commercials, we are far, far, far reasonable than compared to VMware. So we have an estimation, whereas we can be at least 40% lesser than the VMware and Nutanix and Dell VxRail. So that is a commercial difference we bring on the table. So as you know, since the VMware has been acquired by the Broadcom, the renewals are getting delayed. The the prices have changed. Okay, still they are charging on the core basis now. There's no perpetual option, right? So in this context, we come exactly at the right time, whereas we can be more flexible and we have better pricing. Just to give an example, VMware is still giving the core-based licenses, whereas we give CPU-based license. Okay, and we do have options for the perpetual license as well. So that is about the Sangfor. I can discuss more about this virtualization things in a short while in my next slides. Then we have something called virtual desktop infrastructure. See, the VDI has been talking point for more than a decade, but not every customer are using the VDI. But in today's date, as the cybersecurity threats are growing, as the data consolidation happening at one place, you need to have VDI, and VDI is going to be future. Tomorrow, my mobile phone can be a virtual machine. I don't need to have a laptop at the workstation. My mobile can carry my operating systems. I can just connect to any monitor, keyboard, and mouse and access my profile from anywhere in the world. Okay, so the VDI is coming. So we do have option of 2D as well as 3D VDI. So when I say 3D VDI, I mean to say in the construction, they have graphical users, Autodesk, right? And the workstation that they use are very heavy-end workstation. They cost around 18,000 to 20,000 dirhams. So we do have a 3D VDI solution which can be centralized, and they don't have to invest so much on the endpoint workstation. I just take a pause here. If anyone have a question, please do put a message in the chat box, and I'll take up your question as I continue. Then we have an internet access gateway. In today's date, internet access gateway, why it is needed? Because now today, if you just see firewall's main job is security, but they are just offering the features of traffic management, internet access gateway kind of solutions. But now certain customers are looking something beyond what firewall offers. Okay, so if you're looking for better visibility, better control of your internet traffic, then we have a firewall, IAG, sorry, internet access gateway, which can fulfill your needs. And then we have something called firewall. Now, firewall, there are many firewalls, as you know, in the market, right? How do you make a choice? It is not always about the pricing. There has to be some features which are compared to Fortinet, Palo Alto, so forth, are better. So we do have three unique features which other firewalls do not have. Number one is a vulnerability assessment. Our firewall does the vulnerability assessment of your local area network on regular basis, okay? And it can create a report by saying that so-and-so computer has some sort of vulnerability at a network level. So this is one of the unique features added by second feature, which is SOC Lite. So not every customer has a SOC services, right? So we have something called SOC Lite, which gives you some sort of features of the SOCs within the firewall by having a better dashboard, better threat perception, and the visibility. And third one is asset discovery and the management. So in the asset discovery and the management, so for example, the firewall will show you all the assets which are connected in your local area network and their communication within the network. So be it a printer, scanner, laptop, workstation, servers, all the assets it will show you. So it gives you better visibility at one hand. The other hand, it gives you better threat perception. And the third thing is a vulnerability assessment, which does the checks of your local area network. So with these three features, we have uniqueness in our firewall. Otherwise, I'm sure like you as a customer, you know so many firewalls. Why would you consider Sangfor firewall? So we do have very good references. We have sold more than 1,000 firewalls in this market. And if you're interested to know more about firewall, you can very much talk to MTech and us directly. And then we have endpoint secure. Now, endpoint secure that we have, it along with the firewall, if you take endpoint secure, it has a very good remedy for the ransomware protection. In the ransomware protection, we say that we can kill the ransomware within 3 seconds. So we do have some mechanism in our endpoint secure that can kill the ransomware in the 3 seconds. Then we have a NDR, XDR, and MDR. In the NDR, in today's date, not everybody can afford the NDR, network detect response, right? The likes of Darktrace, ExtraHop, Vectra, these are the vendors in the market, but their cost is almost like $70,000, $80,000. Whereas our NDR can come as low as $20,000 or lesser than that. Why do somebody need NDR if they have endpoint secure, EDR, and the firewall and all that? NDR is basically network level. You have a better visibility as what is happening, and it has a SOAR capability. Whereas in case some threat has been identified, it can take the action automatically using the machine learning and the artificial intelligence. So this is very high-end solution. Usually enterprise customers, banks, they are the one who use this kind of solution. But we have made it economical for the medium-sized customers also. So if you are interested in this kind of solution, we can very much arrange a demo for you. Then we have something called XDR, so which is known as a Omni command. So now XDR is very commonly used word. Everybody uses it, CrowdStrike, Sophos, and everyone. But many people depend on only the endpoint to provide the XDR solution. Whereas we not just depend on the endpoint secure, we also bring the NDR as a part of it and providing the holistic security. And third is the MDR, manage, detect, response. In today's date, SOC services not everyone can afford because the cost of SOC is very high. Whereas MDR cost is almost like 3 to 5 times lesser. Okay. So in case you're looking for MDR services, whereas 24/7, somebody is monitoring the critical assets of your organization. If this critical assets comes under any kind of threat, okay, cybersecurity threat, the MDR solution or the MDR service that we offer will be very useful. Whereas it's a proactive MDR, whereas 95% of threats are detected using the artificial intelligence, and then we have people sitting behind it. So that 5% remaining threat also covered by the human intervention. So therefore, we give complete 100% protection for your organization. So in case, I know not every company can afford to have a CISO or security officer, right? Because the cost of such employee is always higher. But if you outsource that to somebody at the cost of 10% or 20%, it makes a lot of sense. Because in today's date, I worked as an IT manager. If I remember, if I get any kind of ransomware attack, if my systems comes under threat, so I have a loss of reputation. So I do understand what can be the loss of reputation for the IT managers and the CIOs. Okay. So keeping that in mind, I always recommend, and I as an IT manager, previous organization, I always recommend that whatever the solutions are there, which are fit for the organization, especially in cybersecurity, it is always best to understand that, understand the value of it. If you're convinced, then at least give the proposal to management. Let them say yes or no. If they say yes, well and good, you are deploying some new technology. If they say no, still it is fine. Because if tomorrow some sort of attacks happens in your organization, you can always say that, look, I have given this proposal to you before, but you have rejected. So there should not be any hesitance just by thinking that management will approve or not approve. It is your job as an IT or CIO to tell the management what is good for the organization. Because tomorrow, if there is a ransomware attack happens, it is not just only organization, but you as an IT manager and the CIO also comes under a big threat. So therefore, talking about the services which are essential for your business is very important. So if any one of you wants to know more about in detail about NDR, XDR, MDR, we'll be happy to arrange one-to-one discussion, one-to-one meeting with any of you. So the next is the switches and Wi-Fi. So we do have a switches and Wi-Fi. We do have some interesting switches. Whereas you might have seen if you need to have a more fiber optic ports in a switch, you have to have a dedicated switch with fiber optics. But in our case, we have a combination of copper as well as 10 gig SFPs. So you can have 12 of each, or you can have 24 each. So therefore, single switch with so many options of the SFPs and the copper, which is very rare in many other switches that you might have noticed. And then we have a cloud platform. So when I say cloud platform, I don't mean that we have cloud services like AWS and Azure, but we do have cloud platform which customer or the partner can build their own private cloud and run it as a service or give it to their own entities. So that is nutshell about this Sangfor, what all things we do. As you see, we have at least 10 different products. And if you look at this chart, these are the typical systems in any given IT infrastructure and the cybersecurity. So if you just see, we are able to cover as many as 60 to 70% of the systems in place. So when you're engaging with us, we are coming forward for the demos, discussions, POC, and all that. So you see, there's a greater value can be offered by the vendor like Sangfor along with our partner MTech. Okay. So this is just slides to give you an idea how many systems that Sangfor can cover as a whole. We do have some recognitions by the world bodies like CMMI level 5 certified. This is one body which gives a certification to the software vendors. So this is very essential. Our hyperconvergence has been rated as a strong performance by the first wave. Okay, of course, VMware Nutanix is there, but we are very much there, much ahead of Cisco, IBM, and Huawei. And this is one of the Gartner peer insight. As you can see, for our storage virtualization, we have got the rating which is highest than VMware and the Nutanix. So you can very much check yourself by searching on the Gartner peer insight. Just listen the feedback, what customers are speaking about Sangfor, and then let's discuss about it. We do have other certifications, right, from AAA rating by cyberrating.org. Same rating we have, same like Fortinet. So Fortinet has got AAA rating by the cyberrating.org, which is a US governing body. And we do have a same rating for our firewall. So when it comes to cybersecurity, we are on the same platform as a Fortinet. Because the thing is that market always go by the what perception is that if somebody is saying that I'm using Fortinet, oh, Fortinet is a premium product. But if you ask yourself, in today's date, if there are 100 attacks took place in UAE last year, out of 100 customers, 70% customers are using the Fortinet. So by what argument we can say that Fortinet is secure? So you as IT manager, although you might be using Fortinet, but tomorrow if something happens, would you believe that Fortinet is really strong security product? So I don't say that it is a product only which is vulnerable. There are many other factors comes into play, how you configure, how you manage, and all that. But I'm trying to say is that sometimes just believing that market is using Fortinet, so I also use the Fortinet, which is very, very loose way of doing things. So best thing is always to find out what is good for your organization in terms of commercial as well as the security. So many products we have in the Gartner. So coming back to the first product, which is hyperconvergence. So please feel free to write a message in the group chat if you have any questions, and I will cover up that as well. So in the hyperconvergence, in the typical way, how the data centers are, maybe small or mid-size or large size. What people do basically, people have a traditional data center with switches, router, firewalls, servers, they separate fiber channel switches, and the storage and the backup. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different components you have to manage, right? So you as an IT manager, let's say you're one person or 5 people or 10 people, you got to manage multiple components. Okay, so it takes a lot of time. In a 365 days, you can imagine managing the multiple components, how much time it is consuming. Even though you are able to save 20% time by reducing this number of components to just 2 or 3 and manage, it is a great thing. You can use that 20% time for many other things within your organization, right? So in today's date, we can get rid of this all the typical conventional data center, And you can have two-layer approach. In a two-layer approach, you just have switches and the complete hyperconvergence boxes. These boxes can be HP servers, Dell servers running a Sangfor hyperconverged software on that with storage inside, with backup inbuilt. Okay, whereas you can take a repository of the backup on the outside box. It can be NAS box or it can be external storage, but you can have multiple copy mechanism within the same system. So in case your one server fails, you still have the other server taking care of it. So here, that's how it works. You have virtual machines writing the data in multiple servers at the same time. In case your one server fails, the VM is automatically moved to the other servers with the data access in the other servers as well. Okay. So this is complete highly redundant. And in today's date, for example, you have a storage, usable storage requirement only for 20 terabyte or 50 terabyte or even 100 terabyte. Why do you need to go for something external storage and manage it separately? If the server is coming with a capacity of 20 terabyte SATA or 12 terabyte or 16 terabyte, you don't need to have a separate storage. Why you go for separate storage? Because you cannot afford a vSAN kind of solution, which is like virtual storage network, right? Whereas Sangfor has made it very economical. You can have the storage virtualization on the server itself. So, and we have a combination of the hybrid storage. You can have the SSD for the cache disk, which is for the high performance application data, and you can have a SATA, which is a cold storage. So with the combination of the SATA and the SSD, your cost can be reduced, but your performance can be much higher. Okay, so that kind of mechanism is there nowadays. So therefore, you don't need to have a separate storage. So that's how our ASAN comes into place. So we do have integration with vCenter, and the migration is very seamless. Our migration from the VMware to Sangfor is very seamless because we have an integration API with the VMware, whereas just right click and migrate to Sangfor, and your entire virtual machine can be migrated to the Sangfor platform, and it can be up and running in just matter of minutes actually with the same IP address. So migration, we have made it simple, and that is one of the reasons people are feeling confident and they're going with Sangfor kind of products. Okay, so in case you having challenge with the VMware renewal pricing or VMware's delay in getting the pricing, please do reach out to MTech and us, and we can show you what kind of pricing and what kind of support we can offer. If you need any kind of demo, we can arrange that. You need any kind of POC, we can look into that as well. So that's about Sangfor vCenter. We do have something called what you draw as what you get. So as you draw your topology, as your network and data center is more complex, virtual, because now today we are going to virtual reality. So more and more things are getting virtual. So as you draw the topology, the configuration gets created automatically. So you can understand how much it is easier to manage the components when you have this kind of features. So we have this known as a ANET, which is like same like NSX in the VMware, but VMware do not have this kind of topology configuration. Okay. Uh, then we have something called intelligence scheduling technology. So we have a certain threshold of the CPU RAM in particular server. As it goes higher, below above 70%, 80%, the VM, the virtual machine is automatically moved to the other server. Then this is how the architecture is. So we provide site-to-site DR. In case your primary site is VMware, your DR can be Sangfor. Okay, so in this we call it as a heterogeneous DR. In case your primary site is Sangfor and your secondary site is Sangfor, we call it homogeneous DR. So we have both the options available. If anyone of you looking for DR, when I say DR, I don't mean only the backup. I mean is a business continuity management. So your entire site, your entire business can run from the DR site. So that kind of technology we have. And our licensing model is very separate, simple. We have the hypervisor, which is ASV, then ASAN, then ANET, and ASEC, security virtualization, and backup DR. So our licensing is on per CPU. So although usually it is recommended to have a hyperconverged with 3 nodes, but in our case, you can start as minimum as 2 nodes also. Okay. And then we have a storage virtualized license separately. It's a CPU based. So every licenses that we have is a CPU based, except the DR license. So for you, whether you use the CPU of say 10 core, 24 core, or 70 core, the cost remains the same. Okay, that is not the case with VMware. So this is simple comparison between Sangfor and the VMware. So you can see very much compute virtualization, storage, network, and you can see what is a part code of Sangfor vis-a-vis to the VMware. So we are covering the entire portfolio of the VMware. We can be perfect replacement at greater and better cost uh, from Sangfor. So in case you're looking for any kind of uh, replacement of VMware, please do reach out to MTech. And then I'll just talk about the VDI. The VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure, is something which is very, Citrix is one of the dominant player in this, but the cost of the Citrix is always high. So we do have, first thing, we do have complete VDI solution, one-to-one or end-to-end from Sangfor. So right from the head end to the lower end to the software, everything comes from Sangfor. So tomorrow, if there is a kind of performance issue, you are talking to only Sangfor support. You're not talking to multiple vendors. In case of Citrix, you have to talk to Citrix separately, VMware separately, Nutanix separately, server vendor separately. That's not the case here. So if you're looking for one vendor for the entire VDI solutions, so Sangfor is a perfect. We have more than 4 million users. So just to highlight, we just have Al Ansari Exchange. They started using our VDI solution. We have some hospitals who are using our VDI solution. So if you're interested in VDI solutions, whether it's a 2D or 3D, please do reach out to us and we can give a demo. So this is how I was showing that everything comes from Sangfor. And this is also very simple comparison between Citrix and the Sangfor. In case you're using Citrix and you're having a challenge of the pricing or technology, we can very much come and talk to you and give you much better solution. And we also have, as you know, VMware also has something called Horizon, okay, which is the VDI solution. So that also we have a complete replacement for that. So as we speak, we are doing a POCs in Dubai government, and hopefully next month we'll have a Dubai government also start using our VDI solution. This is the Internet Access Gateway, which I talked in short. But Internet Access Gateway, these are the four pillars of that. One is a visibility. Now, question is that are you getting the deep level of visibility of the internet traffic which is happening in your organization? Maybe from the firewall, you might be getting something. But in case you're looking for the greater visibility at the user level, as the content level, then this kind of product is good. Then we have an identity. Who is using what is very important to know, because tomorrow if somebody is doing malicious activity by sitting inside your network, it's very important. So we have a kind of knack which helps you to have an understanding who is using what, and the control. Now the control is given as such a granular level. In case you want people to watch the YouTube, but you don't want people to comment on the YouTube, that video, we have that option also, whereas the comment box can be disabled. So we have all this in place with the analytics, which is a report, which give a better idea about what's happening in your internet traffic. Because internet is one of the fastest growing medium, and you will need to know more and more about what's happening in your internet uses. Before your management asks you, you need to know more about it. Firewall, I covered the three features: vulnerability assessment, stock light, and the asset discovery. So these three features are making things more interesting for the customers. If you want to have a demo, we can very much arrange it. We do have some promo going on for the firewall. In case you replace 14.8 or so forth with Sangfor firewall with 3 years premium bundle, we are basically we are able to give the firewall for $1. Okay, so hardware comes at the $1 with 3 years subscription. So if you're interested to know more about it, please reach out to us and the Intech, and we'll help you with that. And then uh, we do have endpoint secure. So endpoint secure, many customers or many IT people do not know how does the ransomware actually takes place. So this is very important for us, for anyone to understand. Today, ransomware is the highest level at this time. But how does it happen is something, if the customer doesn't know or the partners doesn't know, then you're not going to fix it. So it happens in the multiple chains. So first is the infection, then command and control, then the exploitation, and then the propagation. In the infection, how does it happen? Somebody receiving the phishing email. You can't control every email. Your organization might be receiving more than say 1,000 emails in a day. You can't control easily, and there is no product which can completely stop the infection of the phishing and the others, right? So if the infection happens, a phishing email comes to the users and he clicks. Okay, of course, there has to be some education given to this kind of users, but that is one of the difficult tasks. But when somebody is clicking on the link, which is a phishing email, and he is going to the website which is vulnerable, and then his username password has been compromised, and then username password is used for other purpose, right? So first level is the infection. The second level, once the hacker gets access to that particular user, he does something called command and control communication. So he creates a channel between the user and the his computer, and then he has complete access to what exactly user is doing. And from there he start exploitation. So third thing is the exploitation. The exploitation happens, then the hacker will try to go access the critical access of your organization, and then first thing he will do is the data encryption. And that is how things happens. And the propagation, whereas it gets spread all across the organization. So we do have a firewall and the endpoint secure solution together, whereas this particular ransomware attack chain can be killed in 3 seconds. Okay, so if you want to know more about it, how does it happen? I'll be happy to arrange a proper session for all of you. And as well, we have the MDR service, which I mentioned. The MDR service is one of the talking points at very reasonable cost. Your critical assets can be monitored and protected from the cyber attacks. So the cyber command, which is the NDR, we know. So threat detection, threat hunting. Threat hunting is one thing that is the beauty of the NDR, because you have a threat, you may detect, but do you know the source of the threat? So that is called threat hunting. So threat hunting is very important. Like you find out in 1,000 computers or 500 computers where exactly the attack source from and where exactly it is spreaded. And then the last is the threat response. So threat response, whereas our cyber command can collaborate with the existing firewalls, be it a Fortinet, Sophos, or your endpoint secure, and give them the instruction to block that particular attack. So that is where the threat response is coming in play. So this is how the deployment is, whereas you have the probe, which using the machine learning, and it keep listening the traffic from critical assets, and then it gives the feed to the cyber command, and cyber command has the instruction, the coordination with the firewall and the endpoint secure. So with that, I'm just ending my session. So I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you so much for listening out me for last 30 minutes. I do understand it's a Ramadan time and you guys are also quite busy with your work schedule. But my only request is that whatever I said, we can share the recording with you. And if you wish to have any clarification or want to know more about Sangfor, so this slide helps you to understand what exactly Sangfor is offering along with our MTech partner. The MTech people has trained people who can come and deploy such solution for you. I do understand in the market there are many vendors like Fortinet, so forth. Everybody is talking about that, right? But finding out what is most appropriate for you at reasonable cost is your job. So we'll be happy for any kind of evaluation that you wish to know, and we can support. So please keep this in mind. These are the words, but these are very important. So whenever you're planning for any kind of tech refresh, any kind of data center consolidation, any kind of digitization, any kind of ease of management, please do look at hyperconvergence VDI solutions. In cybersecurity, if you're looking for enhancing your cybersecurity at reasonable cost, because cybersecurity in today's date is that it's one of the expensive business. So you as IT manager wants to have a cybersecurity in place, but you can't afford to have every product, right? So therefore, finding out the product as reasonable cost is also one of the responsibility for you as IT managers. So if you're interested to find out that with us, we have 7 different products in cybersecurity, and we'll be happy to talk to you on that. So thank you so much everyone for joining this webinar. We can share the recording with you. And please feel free to reach out to MTech staff in case you have any questions. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.